This was the most random game that I've seen in a very long time. Drew Lock led the Seattle Seahawks on a 10-play, 92-yard game-winning touchdown drive. And what was so random about it is that before the game even started, we didn't even know who was going to be the starting quarterback for the Seahawks. And then Drew Lock gets the nod over Geno Smith, and he started out a little bit slow, but he got progressively better as the game progressed. And then the fourth quarter, final drive, 3rd and 10, it looks like Seattle's down and out. And then Drew Lock throws a prayer to DK Metcalf. When I first saw the play, I thought it was an incompletion. And then one of my boys would tell me, no, JT, he caught that. And then after that play, this dude just got a confidence booster. And then he throws a dot to JSN on James Bradbury. Props to Drew Lock on this fantastic performance. All right, this is a dude who got really emotional after the game, and kudos to the reporter on this interview because she really did a really good job at really savoring the moment. This was a guy in Drew Lock who was drafted out of Missouri in the second round a couple of years ago by the Broncos, and it didn't really work out. He showed a lot of promise in a couple of games his rookie season, but then after that, things just never really materialized for him in Denver. And then he gets to Seattle, right? And all of a sudden, you're with Geno Smith, who has this phenomenal season out of nowhere. And then he kind of gets an extension. Well, he didn't kind of get an extension. He got an extension. And all of a sudden, he's riding back. He was talking about being written off last year and not riding back. Well, he's been riding back in a major way. And I agree with the decision for Pete Carroll before the game to go ahead and give Drew Lock the nod. Geno Smith has not been it. His best performance came against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see what Drew Lock has. And boy, we saw what he has. Now, I don't know if this is just a one-off performance and then he comes back to reality next week. But this was one of those moments in the NFL that you just have to cherish and love it for what it was at that moment. For Drew Lock after the game to tear up the way he did, having to go through not really working out in Denver, coming to Seattle and getting another opportunity and being able to step up in the biggest moment of the game, delivering a 10-play, 92-yard touchdown pass. Drew Lock, congratulations to you, man. And him getting emotional after the game definitely was something that I saw coming. Pete Carroll is one of those coaches that does a great job at motivating his players. And I don't know what the hell he told Geno Smith before the start of last season. And I don't know what the fuck he told Drew Lock before this game started, but it worked. Pete Carroll has to be one of the greatest motivators in the history of coaches. This dude knows how to get the best out of players. Just look at some of the other players that they've had in the past. This is kind of like the island of misfit toys. This man takes players that kind of have some crazy personalities like Jamal Adams and DK Metcalf. Hell, he had Richard Sherman, who we all know how big of a character he is. And he was able to win championships with them, including Russell Wilson. So this dude does a fantastic job at finding ways to build a great culture in the locker room. Drew Lock, the majority of his interview after this game was nothing but mostly praising his teammates, praising the guys who he had around him, the guys who came through and helped make the plays to give him this moment. Now for Seattle, they're cooked. They're done. Jalen Hurts, ever since Philadelphia gave this dude that extension, he's regressed. And this game was the worst performance that he's had all season long. He lost this game for Philadelphia. You know the narrative floating around there that Jalen Hurts can't read defenses? Well, to me, it looked true tonight. He threw two really awful interceptions, including the last one, to finally seal the win for Seattle. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, trying to throw that prayer downfield, but he knew he ain't have enough arm strength to make that throw. And I never viewed Jalen Hurts as a legitimate MVP candidate anyway. There's people who still have him as a betting favorite to win MVP. He's pretty high in the odds. Like, he shouldn't have no odds anymore, man. This dude's played this season. He's been able to elevate his game in the fourth quarter, but he's played really shitty in the first 3 quarters of games. And this was one of those games where he never played well at any point of it. Outside of the first drive that they had, that was it. I like Jalen Hurts. And I'm still very high on him as a quarterback, but this is a down year. I don't want to hear no excuses about injuries because everybody's playing through injuries. We're going into week 10 of the NFL season, people. Nobody's playing at 100%. Philly, their defense, oh my God. You talk about a fall from grace. And not too many people were really that high on Jonathan Gannon as a defensive coordinator. Well, ever since he left for Arizona, this defense has been atrocious. James Bradbury, Darius Slay, giving these dudes extensions was a terrible idea by Howie. And he normally makes pretty good decisions, but he should have moved on from them. They're too old, they're washed up, they're slow. James Bradbury is getting cooked by JSN. And there was another wide receiver who broke Darius Slay's ankles a couple of weeks when he had to go on social media and kind of laugh it off. Like, yeah, Darius Slay, like, laugh off the pain. You're not the same cornerback that used to be anymore. This defense is cooked. Like, oh my goodness. They're so bad that they gave up play calling duties to Matt Patricia. Like, did Nick Sirianni not see the last time Matt Patricia was calling plays on defense when he was the head coach of the Detroit Lions? I remember one time I was watching the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving one year when Matt Patricia was the head coach, and they got absolutely embarrassed by Deshaun Watson to the point the Texans were running trick plays on Matt Patricia's defense. There's no way this dude should have been given defensive play calling. He allowed Drew Lock to engineer a 10-play, 92-yard game-winning touchdown. The Eagles are not going to the Super Bowl. I don't even know if they're going to win a playoff game. Hell, with the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, they might lose to the Bucks. And I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I'm dead serious when I say that. Baker Mayfield, this is going to be a really hot take. Y'all not finna like it, but he's played better than Jalen Hurts this season, at least when it comes to throwing the football. In my opinion, Jalen Hurts has not been that good this year. And I've tried to just ignore his play and give him credit for stepping up in the fourth quarter, but I can't really continue to just act like Jalen Hurts hasn't been as good as what he was last year. He's had some good moments. He's had some big games, but for the most part, the last couple of weeks, he hasn't been that great. And you know, when we all heard David Carr a couple of weeks make those statements that maybe the Eagles should bench Jalen Hurts for Marcus Mariota to allow him to get healthy, that doesn't sound too bad of a take anymore. I mean, you already clinched your playoff spot. If Jalen Hurts is playing this bad when he's throwing interceptions like what he did to end this game, yeah, he may need to sit on the bench for a little bit and get healthy and reevaluate some things. Because it's not looking pretty for Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni, I like Nick Sirianni. I like his character. I like his personality. This dude is always amped up. He's very charismatic. I would love to have an interview with Nick Sirianni. He's very charismatic. But, you know, he says something to Pete Carroll about taking one of his timeouts, and it didn't really sit well to me. And, you know, Drew Lock's 10-play, 92-yard game-winning touchdown drive was pretty much Pete Carroll's middle finger to Nick Sirianni. Like, yeah, what timeout? F you. Like, this dude is a little bit cocky. I be listening to John Middlecoff a lot, who's with the Volume podcast. And when he brought that point up about Nick Sirianni being a little bit too talkative as a head coach, like, I understand now where he was coming from. It's like, dude, worry about your team. Your secondary's getting cooked. You got Matt Patricia calling plays on defense. Jalen Hurts is cooked. The Eagles look like dead birds right now. It is dead birds down there in Philadelphia, man. I don't even know if they could beat the Buccaneers right now. Honestly, truthfully, do you think the Eagles defense can stop any offense right now? Drew Lock Had a game-winning touchdown drive on these guys, man. Darius Slay, James Bradbury, they can't cover a wide receiver to save them souls, especially the younger ones in the league that are really good. Things are starting to fall apart in Philadelphia. They're still a really good team, but they're not playing like one. And the NFL season is never about how you start. It's about how you finish. And after the week of Thanksgiving is over, that's when the pretenders start to separate themselves from the contenders. And the Eagles, they look like a contender at the start of this year, but the more I watch these fools play, getting blown the hell out by Dallas, and you're losing to the Seattle Seahawks, which was supposed to be a get-right game for you, you're starting to look more like pretenders. And at this point, it's probably only one team that you can have 110% confidence in they can make it to the Super Bowl. And that are the 49ers, or that is the San Francisco 49ers. They've looked like the most dominant team in this conference from week 1 to now, even though they had a little bit of a cold stretch when they went on a losing streak. But then after their bye week, they came back and they smashed the Jaguars, and it's been going up ever since. But you never want to trend down this late into the season. You're making coordinator changes that aren't working out. Your star quarterback is playing like shit after you just paid the man. Like, oh my God. I like Jalen Hurts. I like his leadership. I like his cool, calm demeanor. But it's not looking pretty for that boy right now, man. If it wasn't for all those tush pushes, he wouldn't really be in the MVP conversation statistically. But this was a big win for Seattle. They get themselves right back into the playoff mix, and they really needed this win because their season was looking really brim at one point. They were on a little bit of a losing streak themselves. They lost a close one to Dallas on Thursday night. Like Seattle, to get this win, maybe this moment out of Drew Lock could be what helps them turn their season around. And I need them to get that 7th seed because I got a $100 bet going that the Rams aren't going to make it to the playoffs. So please, Seattle, please get it done. Get it done. Get it done. This is not the time of year that you want to be giving away $100 free to somebody. Like, the Rams are a good team, but hopefully they lose to the Saints and they get upset by somebody and you can win out. And I believe that you can with the way Drew Lock played, even though Philadelphia's defense is horrid, is old, it's ancient. They need to move on from those aging old men in that corner. But this was a great moment by Drew Lock, and this could be what sparks the Seattle Seahawks season right back on track.